We tend to think of a civilization as a collection of skyscrapers, concrete grids, and massive municipal budgets. But a society actually begins with something much smaller, a people learning how to systematically care for what belongs to them. Right now, our default state is fragmentation. Physical maintenance is disconnected from the people who live in a space. Labor only reacts when something is already broken. And individual households operate on isolated islands, cut off from the neighborhoods around them. When everyday systems lack a predictable rhythm, it takes a psychological toll. Citizens stop being active participants in their communities and are reduced to passive passengers, simply waiting for someone else to fix the infrastructure. A society that lacks a choreographed routine for daily stewardship eventually loses its structural integrity. The physical decay is simply a symptom of a deeper loss of civic dignity. To synchronize these disconnected layers of civic life, a new kind of framework is required. That framework is Cohandy. This framework functions as a protocol for the physical world, synchronizing the labor of the individual with the logistical needs of the wider geography. Within this unified architecture, the act of civilization is rehearsed into existence through daily, synchronized routines of stewardship. To see how this scales, we start at the absolute smallest, most intimate unit of society, the home. This begins with the crown family of systems, specifically Queen OS. It applies a structured rhythm to the household, turning chaotic daily chores into organized, predictable ceremonies. From that foundation, we look at the youngest members of the house. In this system, young people are treated as active participants in the upkeep of their world. Through the youth family, they become apprentices of responsibility. They are taught to repair broken fixtures, to serve their immediate surroundings, and to take physical ownership of their environment. When these individual households function with order, they provide the reliable building blocks that a larger city requires to remain stable. When you step out of the front door, the scale expands into the shared spaces between buildings. The community family, using tools like StewardOS, organizes those spaces. It pulls isolated acts of neighborly goodwill into a grid of predictable, cyclical stewardship. That same synchronized approach applies to the structures themselves through the built environment family. Buildings cannot care for themselves. This system creates a continuous life cycle for construction and maintenance, ensuring that every structure is proactively maintained rather than reactively patched. The true measure of a community's success is defined by how effectively it maintains and respects that shared physical reality. But a city is not a static object. It is constantly active, and the friction of transit and labor requires its own orchestration. The mobility family replaces dangerous traffic patterns with a choreographed system of movement. Here, driving becomes a trained ceremonial practice. To power that movement, the workforce family provides the coordination for the people who keep the city functioning. By providing clarity to invisible, scattered gig work, it transforms routine manual tasks into a highly respected, organized craft. When you combine the safe flow of transit with the dignity of organized labor, you create the active backbone required to hold civic life together. Zooming out further, every civilization faces macro-level forces, sudden systemic emergencies, and the economic demands of the population. The resilience family acts as a protective shield. It orchestrates a unified response to large-scale disasters like floods and fires, ensuring that responders move with calm efficiency. The economy family aggregates countless individual efforts, combining them into a central engine that generates sustainable economic pathways for entire regions. This logic extends to the school and institution family. Schools effectively operate as microcities, requiring this level of operational order to successfully educate the next generation. For a civilization to endure, it must possess both the shield to withstand sudden shocks and the engine to economically thrive. We have mapped a system that scales from a youth fixing a brass hinge to the logistics of a citywide flood response. In legacy environments, these functions exist as isolated applications, hidden behind separate logins that cannot communicate. The gatehouse identity layer solves this. 10 distinct branches converge into a single glowing central trunk, binding the ecosystem together. Through this identity, a youth fixing a hinge logs a skill. That act builds a reputation instantly recognized across workforce and mobility networks. Cohandy provides the civilizational coherence required for a population to orchestrate their own future.